Okay, I'm ready to go. Go ahead. How do
All
we
right.
do it?
Do you want to?
Well, we already know, Greg, your memory's pretty sharp, so I know you probably be able to remember.
I can remember 46 years ago. It's last week. I can't remember.
Good point.
It's a
Good
short time.
point.
Got it. Short time memory. Got it.
Yeah.
So this is something that I feel like God put on my heart to do for people that are interested in real estate investing. But like I said, they have so many limiting beliefs, or they're just unsure, or we just want to have a collection of stories to be able to share. And so people can listen in and relate and be like, oh, okay, well, so-and-so did it, or if they could do it, I can do it. And so that's really the purpose, is just to inspire and influence aspiring investors to do real estate. And hey, no matter who you are, what you're doing, where you've been, where you come from, anybody can win. So it's just really creating that community, right?
Yeah.
So we'll just introduce ourselves and
All right.
introduce you, and then we'll talk about who you are, as if people don't know. They know who you are. Of course they know who you are.
No, they don't. I fly under the radar most of the time.
I see that. Yeah. Yeah.
Is there wisdom in that?
There is some wisdom in that. Yeah.
The right people know who you are. How about that?
You gotta watch out for the quiet ones.
So yeah, we'll talk about who you are. We'll talk about your first deal, and we'll break it down into a framework. We'll talk about how you found it, how you got it, meaning how you connected with the seller, what the challenge was, what was the solution you provided, and ultimately how you closed the deal. And then I'll ask you an ending question, which is basically what limiting belief did you overcome, or which one that you overcame made the biggest difference? And then that'll be it.
All right.
I'll do my best.
There you go. There you go.
Kick it off, babe?
Yeah, I'll kick it off.
All right.
All right.
Here we go.
Welcome. All right. Welcome, guys, to My First Deal Story. My name is Leon.
And I'm Brittany.
Thanks for being here, guys. And we've got an awesome one for you today. We've got our awesome guest, Greg Pinneo, and man, he has been a phenomenal impact so far in my wife's and I's life. And we want to just be able to give him the opportunity to share his story, what his first deal was like, and then also drop some wonderful tips and nuggets and tell you guys a little bit about his business.
Yes, I am excited. This is such a privilege. It's like when you finally, it's when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And this amazing man, he and his wife, Shauna, and it's just, all I'll say is God has been good to me, and I can see the favor through this couple and what they've been for us and our family. So I'm not going to get emotional. We're just going to get into this My First Deal story. And I pray that you take everything, hang off of every word, because there's so much valuable knowledge that he's going to impart. I know I'm going to learn something, and I sure hope and pray that you do, and re-listen to this and share it. So without further ado, welcome to the My First Deal Story podcast, Greg Pinneo, baby.
I'm expecting fireworks or something, but
there you go. That's how it is with Brittany Thompson over there.
I know. She's got more energy. Yeah.
Like a rocket.
Thank you for letting me do this with you. That's really very special.
Very honored to be here with you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Couldn't be better, man.
Yeah.
What a great way to celebrate Thanksgiving for us. So take it away. Tell them who you are.
Wow. I would say first, you guys, that in my wildest dreams, did I ever imagine being involved in real estate? No, I didn't. I was very interested in sports when I was a kid. I loved the outdoors, sports. Real estate didn't occur to me as even being a thing. What did occur to me, and was made very clear when I was young, by two very hardworking, well-meaning, awesome parents, it was made very clear to myself and my brother that the night you graduate from high school, you're an adult.
Yeah.
And when you look up adult in our family dictionary, it meant you don't live here.
Mm.
It and and this sounds, every time I say this, people are like, oh wow, how cruel or something. It never felt like that. It felt exciting. And it was made clear that it was their job to help prepare for the reality of adulthood, that now you're on your own. And if you go to college, and we hope you do, we hope that works out for you, right? In other words, you're on your own meant you don't live here, you're functioning. We'd like you to come Thanksgiving, Christmas, and bring something, not your dirty laundry, right? And my dad especially in this, my dad's a big, strong, quiet guy. And he had a lot of humility, I will say that. My mom and dad never had a dad that they ever met. And so they had these mothers that raised them. And unfortunately, the mothers were alcoholics and didn't really add up to much. So when they got together, they turned their own personal compass 180 degrees from everything they'd ever known. And so they were self-taught in terms of how to move along in life. And yet they knew that they didn't really know anything. My brother came along when my parents were 19. I came along when they were 21, right? And so what do you know at 19 and 21? You don't know anything. Even if you think you do, you really don't know anything.
It's the truth.
And but they let us know that. They said, listen, we're doing our best. And there's some things that we really believe in. And so they taught us to work hard. We did everything as a family. And that day we know was coming. With my brother, the reality of coming attractions was always in front of me because he's 2 years older than I am. I'd see what he was doing and I knew it was coming my way, right?
Yeah.
And so when he graduated from high school, the next night he was not there. And I'm like, well, this is real. And it was exciting. It wasn't scary. Didn't feel oppressive, but it was serious. My dad's 6'4", 230, played tight end for the Huskies. He just kind of says it and that's it. There's no more discussion. And so I took it seriously. I'm also, as you know, Brett, or anybody that really does know me, I'm an extreme introvert. So the idea of living like at a dorm or a fraternity, or oh my God, no. that and so all I could think of and all I knew is that, okay, I need a place to live. And if I could get into the University of Washington, that's where I wanted to go. And so I did get in, but I started looking at rental houses, like in my junior year of high school. And I just tried to find something that would work close enough to the university that it would work. And so it started getting serious as I rolled into my senior year. Right now, the clock is ticking, and I'm really digging in. I'm looking at rental houses, and so in early March I'm graduating in June, so like late February, early March, I'm out looking at a rental house, and I pulled up in my crummy Datsun 510, and this house was, I just, even on the outside, it was just horrific. And I went, oh, wow, darn it, that kind of thing. And I got out, and this guy, the door was open, and he goes, well, walk through and let me know what you think. And I said, are you going to give me the tour? And he says, no, just walk through. And so I walked like a couple rooms, and it was so nasty. I couldn't believe anybody would run an ad for this. Like, are you really expecting somebody to say yes? And it stunk, and it was nasty. And I was in there all of 30 seconds, and I came out, and the deck, you almost fell through the front deck and walked down on this dirt little driveway. And he says, so what do you think? And I'm a shy kid. For me, just to be bold about what I was thinking, I didn't, I felt,
Yeah.
and I've been taught to respect my elders and these things. And I said, I kind of went, and he goes, give it to me straight. And I said, well, I'm not meaning to, start something, but if you really want to know what I think it's just a mess. Every corner of this thing, all I see is work that needs to be done. And I remember saying, listen, it's not that I'm afraid of hard work. I mean, my dad has taught me how to do probably everything this house needs. I could put on a roof. I could do a lot of things to this. But if I was going to put all that work into this thing, I'd want to own it rather than rent it. Now, I have no idea why I said that. Because what do I know about buying a house?
Wow.
Nothing. And it's the last thing on my radar. But that's what I said. Mm-hmm. And this guy looks at me, he says, well, maybe you should buy it from me. And wow. And I'm like, he kind of called my hand, and I'm like, I'm not even 18 years old yet. I'll be 18 in like a month, and I had no idea. And I kind of looked confused, I'm sure. And he said, how much do you have saved up? And I said, well, I have $1,000 saved up. Huh. Which I thought that was kind of impressive for my age, And he kind of goes, what's your resume look like? And resume, I mean, I've worked for my uncle Bob, who's not a blood uncle, but my dad's best friend. He was a contractor. I worked for him since I was 10. So, but I thought, well, that isn't really what he's asking. I said, well, I've worked for my uncle Bob, and so I know construction, a little bit. And I'm thinking, well, I'm a pretty good student, but I have to work hard at it. I'm a pretty good student because if I came home with anything less than a B, it would not go well, right? So that's why I was right. And I said, I'm a pretty good athlete, probably for the same reason, And then I was thinking, like, I got to come up with more than that. And I said, oh, I'm the state's youngest Eagle Scout. Trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. And he looked at me and goes, all right. And he pulls this book out of his pocket, this little book, like a little book. And he starts going like this, and he's looking through his glasses, and he goes, can you afford $206.10 a month? I didn't know what this book was, what he was looking at, or really what he was even asking. Wow. And I kind of went, maybe, I didn't know what to say. I didn't even know what he was doing. He grabs this notepad and he writes down 25,000, 1,000 down. You're going to owe me 24,000, payment 206.10 a month. And then he says, are you 18? I said, not yet, but like in a month I will be. Huh. He rips his sheet off and he says, take this home to your parents, and if they think, ask them what they think, and if they say okay, I'll sell you the house.
Wow.
And I didn't have a clue. I didn't know, but I remember I said, oh, okay. And I got his phone number, and I drove home, and my dad was in the garage. And he's working on the workbench, and I walked in and kind of came out. I said, "Hey, Dad," kind of looked at me. Dad doesn't say much. And I handed him this sheet. And I said, I looked at this rental house today, but the guy said that he would sell the house to me. And here's, I guess, how he would do it. He'd sell it to me instead of renting it. What should I do? And he looks at it for like 3 seconds. And he hands the sheet back. Doesn't even look at me. Hands the sheet back and he goes, "Probably better than renting."
Wow.
Wow.
And then he started to walk out of the garage, like walking away. And I go, "So, Dad, so I should do it?" And as he's walking away, he goes, "Probably better than renting."
Wow.
Wow.
Wow. I didn't know what any of this stuff on the sheet meant.
Right.
I called the guy back and I said, "Well, I talked to my dad, and he says it needs a lot of work, but probably better than renting. So I guess we'll do it." He goes, "All right." He says, and he started using all these words. I didn't know what he was talking about. "I'll draft the purchase and sale agreement. I'll open escrow. I'll order title," all these words. And all I remember is that within an hour, I was looking up words.
Wow.
And I was trying to figure out how does this work? And what do I do? And I knew nothing.
Mm.
And he walked me through the steps, and I turned 18, and I gave him my $1,000 as earnest money and down payment. and that was it. I closed. This guy even deferred the accrual of interest for like the months of, let's say it'd be like the months of April, May, and June.
Wow.
And my first payment wasn't due until July because it needed so much work. Plus, I didn't graduate from high school till June. So I was over there all the time leading up to when I graduated. And the night I graduated from high school, I moved in. I didn't have a payment still for like a month.
Wow.
And so, and everything that it needed was, in today's terms of the projects you guys do and I've done, it really was just, it was my own eyes look like, oh, it needs all this work, but it wasn't heavy duty gut it and remodel it. I did do a little bit more in the bathroom, but mostly it was just clean and paint and trim and carpets. And I did put a roof on, and I did build a deck out front, and things like that. But I don't know, I didn't have much money, so I did it with whatever I could do, right? But anyway, now I'm there. Now the word did get out with my two good friends, Jeff and Kelly, that every day after school, I was, right when baseball was done, I was zipping over there and I was working till late. And "Where are you going? What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I bought a house." And what? They didn't know what to think of that.
Oh, you're probably
And,
crazy.
Yes.
and they'd come over, late at night, and I'd be there painting, and they're like, "Hey, they both got into the university too. Hey, you mind if you got room here? Do you mind if we live here?" And the way it was set up is there are these two, more like one bedroom, but the stairway going upstairs, you turn left to one, right to the other, but it's all like open. But there were
Okay.
two little nooks at the top of the stairs. And I mean, you could barely call them bedrooms, but there were little rooms. And then downstairs, there was the laundry room that was about 10 by 10. So there was enough room in there for a bed and a desk and the laundry. So I thought, well, okay, well, you guys can go upstairs and I'll have my bedroom / laundry room / office in my little 10 by 10 room downstairs. And so they moved in too. And Brittany, you've probably heard me tell this story, but still, I'm starting the University of Washington. I'm going to be a PE major or rec major, something. I don't know why I'm going to school, to be honest with you. But my dad went to UW and thought, well, okay, I'll go there and I'll figure something out. But I'm sitting there writing out my first installment check, the very first payment. I'm at my little desk and I'm writing out $206.10. I'm right in the middle of writing this check. And Jeff and Kelly popped their head in my room and say, hey, we're going to go run around Green Lake. You want to go around Green Lake? And I said, man, I got things to do, guys. Have fun. They go, okay, here's the rent. And they just each threw $100 bill on my desk. I said, oh, thanks. I don't even remember saying how much the rent was. I don't even know. Maybe they just threw it. Maybe they just decided that's how much it was themselves. I don't know. I don't ever remember talking to them about paying me rent. It was kind of assumed they'd do something, but anyway, they threw $100 bill and they left. And then I looked down and I'm literally right in the middle of 200 and while I'm staring at $200.
Wow.
And it sounds so crazy, but I've told this story 1,000 times. And every time hair kind of stands up on my arms because my heart started pounding. I didn't know anything, but I stood up. I'm like, that was the first light bulb. Jeff and Kelly are buying me my house. I own this house, but they're paying for it. Yeah. That little light bulb. And I remember like kind of pacing, but there was hardly any room to pace. I just couldn't. And the best way I can describe it is I just stopped. And it was like this.
This show is sponsored by HiveMind CRM. It is more than just a CRM. It is a real estate and business mastermind that comes with an all-in-one CRM. You can have unlimited websites and users. You can call, text, RVM, and email all in one user interface. And you can set up custom automations for any type and multiple businesses. 65% of companies start using a CRM system within the first 5 years of business. Once implemented, the HiveMind will save you on marketing, give you more time, and make more money. One of our users had his first $100,000 month using our system in June. We want to see you automate and accelerate your business. Text us at 210-972-1842 for future meetings and of course to get our $1 course on how to make more than 6 figures on one land deal. You can schedule your free demo today at hivemindcrm.io.
It was like a marriage of two thoughts. Because, you remember when you're 18, you got all these things in your heart and mind you want to do. But at least I had no clue how I was going to pull that off, right? I want to do this. I want to do that. Woohoo, I'm an adult. I'm free. But I have no money. I have no... and somehow in that moment, it's as if a limousine pulled up. Somebody opened the door and said, anywhere you want to go, just get in.
Wow.
Do more of this. Wow. That was 46 years ago. And I became instantly obsessed. I would have changed my major. I would have done anything. If I couldn't have been off campus by 11 o'clock out looking to buy more houses. I mean, it sounds crazy and I'm not saying it's right, but when you're that taken by something, I went through 6 years of the university, undergrad, postgrad. I never went to one sporting event. I never went to one party. I never went anywhere on spring break or anything. Nothing. I worked 18 hours a day, 7 days a week, and loved every minute of it. I was off doing my thing and I couldn't get enough of it. I just literally couldn't get enough of it. And so that changed my life. I couldn't buy houses fast enough. Then I started buying apartment buildings, and then I couldn't find those enough. So I started building them from scratch. And, a couple hundred units of that later, I'm like, man, okay, now where do we go? And it has been, I liken it to my other passion, which is aviation, that it starts with like a 172 Cessna. And then of course there's the space shuttle, and they're both airplanes.
Yeah.
And that's what real estate has been for me. It started with a 172 Cessna, a little tiny house. Couldn't have been more than 800 feet. But I'm still flying, and I'm still upgrading my plane, as it were, always, literally and metaphorically. And so the thing I love most about this is that if a B student like me, hardworking parents, I didn't come from any money. They haven't given me any money. They don't have any money to give, right? My dad still has the Pendleton shirt he bought when he was 17 years old, and he still wears it every week. They wear things out. You know what I mean? They're hardworking, depression raised. But I have loved that it's challenged me all these years. I've never gotten bored with it. All the various product types, all the various, deal structuring. I've been obsessed with it for 46 years. And so now what's crazy is that I get the privilege of teaching people what all those years, how it's all added up. And it's not always been easy. I mean, I've been the first guy in the door. The first guy in the door gets shot sometimes.
Yeah, seriously.
You know what I mean? But I've always looked at it like, well, that left a mark, but hey, I have learned some things here.
Right.
It's always been like, all I'm trying to do is keep learning and growing. So that was too long of a story for my first house, but
it was beautiful.
There you go.
It really was.
It's like listening to a bedtime story, and now you're gonna go dream about it. It's so good. It's so good. Thank you, golly, Leon. I mean, I'm just in awe over here.
I am, man. It is amazing. I've heard that story once, but it's almost like I've heard it again. But it was like when you hear it a second time and a third time and a fourth time, you pick out more details about your story, and like, I don't remember him saying that little piece last time. It's like, oh, it's awesome.
Yeah, I think it's the principle of, and I hope the listeners really hear this when I say it, but I think it's the principle of when it goes from head to heart.
Yes.
And it doesn't become a thing you do, it becomes a lifestyle, it becomes a way. Yeah. And so I'm gonna listen to this over and over again myself, because I feel like we need to be reminded of those beginnings.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like what made you get started?
Like for real.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And let's lead from that place.
Lead from that place. I agree with you. I see a lot of people doing what they do as a means to an end.
Yes.
It wasn't about doing anything. It was about becoming something.
Wow.
I focused on the be side of the equation, not the do side. And now I'm just obsessed. I'm looking for any shred that would help me be more of this than I was yesterday. Anything that I could become to be more of this world. And of course, along the way, you talked about limiting beliefs. Along the way, you have this desire to, like, I want to go from here to here, but what's holding me back? And this became a big part of the equation. I had so many tremendous beliefs that were installed by my mom and dad that were just fantastic. I believe them to this day and teach them. But there were a few things that I ran across that I had to really dig in and figure out, like, what is going on here? Here's a funny story, but it wasn't short. It wasn't a few years after this. Every stupid kid, like, wow, I'm buying houses. I'm seeing how this works. I mean, and what you got to have a goal, Greg. You got to have a goal. Well, I've always loved Porsches. And I thought, if I ever get enough money in the bank, real brilliant thing to think, but I'm going to buy a Porsche, and so I get done with some escrow check. I'm like 19, 20 years old. And I go through the drive-through and give them the check. I said, hey, can you tell me like how much like I have? Because I'm not a real good bookkeeper. And they say, oh, you mean like an account balance? That's what they call it. Yes. Did you give me that? And so this gal puts this little thing through the drive-through and I look at it and I go, well, I think that's enough to buy a Porsche. And I drove right from the bank in my 66 Chevy pickup to University Porsche Audi. And I walked in my Carhartt boots, muddy pants, and there it was right there in the showroom floor. I mean, that's the one. Black on black, 911. That's the one I want. And I started walking around it, and maybe it was the salesman came up and like, okay, what are you doing here? Kind of thing. You look like you're 12 and you're muddy and don't sit in the car kind of thing, and I said, I'm just, but when he left, there was something going on and it wasn't him. It was something inside of me. And all I could liken it to is like, I kept looking over my shoulder, like who's watching me right now? Because it was like, something was happening that I just felt so uncomfortable there, and I didn't get it. I'm not that spooky type, but it was like I was doing something really wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going, what is going on? Get yourself together. And I finally couldn't, and I bolted out the door. I can just hear what the salesman must have said, like, see, told you, just another idiot, that kind of thing. But I bolted out the door. I got my truck. I drove 2 blocks away and I pulled off the side of the road. And I started yelling at myself, like, what is going on? Get it together. What is happening? I remember yelling, Greg, you are not leaving here until you figure this out. Have you ever tried to think about what you're thinking? It's really hard work.
Yes, it is.
You don't know where to start. Like, what am I thinking? I'm trying to think about what I'm thinking. And I thought, no, just dig in. You can do this. Think. And that's the first time, unknowing to me, but at the time, but that was the first time that I actually went in and said, what's the conflict here? There's a conflict inside. And as it turned out, as I sort of just tried to pull it apart, the anxiety was around that if I bought this car, at some point in the near future, my dad would see that I bought this car. And my dad would look at me and he would say, did you need this?
Yeah.
Need. We were raised that you should have anything you need if you're willing to work hard and honestly for it. But boy, need was the underlying word. Our shoes were falling apart till we got another pair of shoes. You know what I mean? It's need. You don't need this if you can fix it and it'll still work, that kind of thing. And that my dad's car had 500,000 miles on it. You don't need a new one because that one still works. And so anyway, I remember thinking, okay, Greg, that's how you were raised. That's a belief system. But do you believe that? Or is that what was installed in your head? And boy, I'll tell you something. It kind of scared me to even think about, I think I believe something that my dad doesn't. Just even thinking that kind of freaked me out. But I went, hey, you're an adult now. He raised you to be an adult. You don't have to think everything like your mom and dad think. So what do you believe? And right there in the truck, I wrote out, I believe that I should have anything that I want as long as I'm willing to work honestly and hard for it. And I taped it on the dash of my pickup, and I drove around for a couple months saying it like 100 times a day. I didn't know what I was doing, but that's how I was installing a new belief system.
Right.
And then I drove right back into that same Porsche lot, and I bought it, drove it away, didn't feel any problem at all. And about 3 months later, I pull up in front of my mom and dad's, really didn't even think about it. I get out, I walk, my dad opens the front door. He looks right over my shoulder. You know, he's a big guy and he kind of red faced, his eyes were kind of squinting. He goes, "What's that?" And I said, "What?" He said, "The car. Is that yours?" I said, "Oh yeah, that's mine." He goes, "When did you get that?" I said, "Oh, a couple of months ago." "Did you need that?" That's what he said, quote.
Wow.
Wow.
And I said, "No, Dad, I didn't need it. I wanted it. And it's awesome. You should try to drive it." And then I like walked past him before he grabbed me or something. You know what I mean? And I'm making my dad sound really big and mean, but he was raised
Right.
in the 30s. You don't waste anything.
That's a difference.
You can't even, well, when you have a paradigm shift like that, it changes everything. And it's not easy to change the way you believe. I mean, you get this nice thing. And again, there was this almost like pushback for a lot of years. But I hung to my beliefs. And now, like, I can tell you last 4 or 5 years ago, I get a different plane, a new plane. "Hey, I heard you got a new plane. When can I see it?" Wow. You see? Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. Like, I kind of felt like, hey, it took me a long time, but you're seeing that I think a little different and you're not judging me on it. You're letting me be me. And that was awesome. Change is always challenging, but I see people all the time, Britt, and you probably see this too, that everything in their DNA, they want to win the Indy 500, but what was installed at birth was a Volkswagen Bug. And so they're in conflict. And if we don't get those rocket legs kicking in sync, we just get tangled up and go nowhere. So I've worked as hard on how I think as the skill sets of finance, acquisition, negotiation. And I think that that's why in trying to teach this to people, it's not just the left brain technical skills. It's the right brain, the subjective belief systems, the things that when we can line it all up, now we get exponential headway. So that was a long story to make a point. But anyway, I've had to work hard on handcrafting my belief systems. So anyway.
Yeah, this is awesome because the whole point of this podcast is to tell a story, and Greg is the best at telling stories.
Incredible.
That's what we love about our mentor here, Greg Pinneo, man. He is awesome, and man, I am such honored for him to be on here. And I know Brittany's probably got some key questions.
God, no.
You got some, you want to rock with one of those questions?
It's like when you hear a song the first time, and like you mentioned, the hairs stand up, and then all of a sudden now you're on repeat, and you're like over and over and over, and you just fall in love with the melody, and now you know the words, and now your people are looking at you crazy because you feel like you're in an opera. And these moments, and this is why, this is really the core reason behind why we started coaching. It became less about how successful and how much we could acquire and what type of materials are available, and more about exposing the opportunity for what it is, which is a chance to think, to live, to be, to do differently. And so it's an incredible honor to have your time and to have you so eloquently tell the story of your first deal, how it impacts you, and how you've inevitably been able to take that and impact people like me, like Leon and I, like us. And for that, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful.
Well, you have to, I think of tonight, Everest is flying in for Thanksgiving, right? Everest is, Sean and I have 5 kids, as you know. And so Shauna's firstborn, right? And she couldn't be more excited. She's in college, she's flying in, picking her up. She'll be here for Thanksgiving. And it's just like a parent that there's this joy in seeing, the student become the teacher. The one you raised and helped becoming now the one that's raising and helping others. And so no surprise that there never was a surprise that, you guys are doing this. All the ingredients were there, but just to have a little part of that journey and then see you, I can think of all the people that you've learned from. We're all just clapping like, hey, now you get to go to the other side of the table and you get to challenge and empower people. And so it's what everybody like me dreams of. I get off a plane in any city in this country, and there is a very important dinner that night with one or many that I just get to see what they're doing and how they're doing it and how they're lifting and empowering others. So it's quite a dream life. I feel like I've got 1,200 kids, so it's really awesome what you're doing and how you're helping people, not only with, the technical side, but even more importantly, I think just the belief side that, hey, just start, just go. You'll learn as you go,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So really, really cool. And I'm going to get to see you guys. We're going to blink and be in sunny Arizona. And yes, I'm telling you, what a cast of characters coming to this one. This is, wow. The people showing up at this training, if you added up the units that they have together in one Power Players, there's over 6,000 doors already owned in this group.
Wow. You know what?
Think about it. It's incredible. I'm like, man, I'm telling you, but it's back to that what do you want? You want your kids to do better than you. Well, I eat a lot of dust these days with hard driving students like you guys, and that's okay. But what a privilege to be there together and just stir it up. So yes, it's a lot of fun. Yeah. So I'm sure you've got 8 million of these to do, and I'm glad that I got to contribute. I'm glad the computer worked and we figured it out. And so you guys have an awesome Thanksgiving. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then, like I say, we'll blink and I'll see you in January in Arizona. There will be no small talk. It will be important conversations, and we'll all leave wonderfully disturbed. Sound good?
That sounds good. And before you get off, I wouldn't want to do anyone a disservice of them not being able to learn more about you or to look into what you're doing. I know Power Players is probably full. I wouldn't doubt that it's not full, but I'm sure you got something coming up in the near future. Can you share with our audience what you're doing next year and how they can learn more?
It's really nice. Well, you guys were just at the hangar, and geez, there we were together with our 200 of our best friends. That was an awesome day, the couples day, the entrepreneurial couples exchange at the hangar. And by the way, just so people don't get free, that's a free event. It's on me and Miss Shauna. We want anybody that's in this, that's a couple, to come and be supported with other entrepreneurs, and we have a great day of conversation. It's an exchange, no right answers, no wrong answers. We just talk. But what a gas, for Shauna and I to be a part of that. And we had some great food and in a fun setting. And so we'll definitely be doing that this next year for sure.
All right.
Yeah, we'll definitely be doing that. And matter of fact, there's already over 100 people that have said, how do I say? All you do is you say we're coming. Well, how much? No, because they've heard about it. So it's going to be a big one next year.
Oh boy.
It was big this year. I've taught, this will be the 32nd Power Players. That intensive is a 4-day intensive. I've taught that intensive. This is the 32nd time coming up in January, which you guys will be at that event. You as a returning Power Player, Brittany, and now Leon gets to step into the crosshairs of pain, for the first time, but that's going to be awesome. And yes, that one, Power Player sells out a long way in advance. And so that one's sold out. However, the next Power Players next year, the last 2 days of July, the first 2 days of August in Park City, Utah.
Oh.
And so an incredible setting in the mountains of Utah. And I think we have 8 or 10 spots still available for that Power Players in 2022. The biggest, well, at least the thing that Ms. Shauna and I are so excited about, the Roundtable Leadership Forum in Las Vegas in June.
Oh yeah.
And wow, that is a who's who of power showing up at that place. Let me tell you, we've got a huge room, and it can hold as many as we could bring. It's one of those kind of events, but that's a 2-day conference on leadership. It's everywhere Ms. Shauna and I look right now, we just see this desperate need for leadership.
Yes.
And people say, "Oh, you're a born leader." No. Leadership is a calling and then a training to step into leadership. And we're going to unpack leadership. We're going to have this incredible exchange made up of all these round tables. We have 26 table captains that are going to be hosting many conversations at their table that we will direct you from the front. And then after every little mini conversation, everybody moves to a different table and a different table and a different table.
So good. I'm so excited.
And so it's like, you'll look at your name as okay, next one I go to table 17. Okay, next one I go to table 7. Next one, table 21. And the point of that is every table then is shuffled with new people with a new question. And the table captains are there to make sure everybody's contributing their thinking. And so, and you mentioned Alex Pardo, right? Alex will be a table captain, and Zach Childress is a table captain. And, I mean, these are awesome people. I mean, so many of them. So anyway, Miss Shauna is passionate about leadership. She was born and raised at the military academy at West Point, right? She understands leadership. And we're really excited for that event in June. So, between the couples thing at the hangar, that's just everybody come and on us, leadership conference, Power Players, those are at least a few big rocks for next year. And that's and then of course we have 5 kids, and we travel 100 days a year. I've got these things to the introvert speaking schedule is, how is it booked? I have no idea, but
it's going to be amazing. Lee, I have to step there for a second. No, I'm excited. Like, I'm fired. I'm always fired up, but no, it's already, like you said, it's already booked. We already know that part of our schedule is, we're going to be there, and we're looking forward to the fellowship and the learning and the growing and the stretching that's going to take place.
Well, we're going to blink, and I'll see you in Arizona. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you again so much for contributing. For my audiences, I hope that y'all were taking notes. I hope that you all took it seriously. This type of wisdom is just not commonly found in this world. So I hope and pray that you hear it, you listen again. And when you think about taking your first step toward getting your first deal, that you consider that you can and you will, and that the opportunity is present, that you just have to take action. Like,
the show is sponsored by The List Guys. Do you need more leads in your local or virtual market? 1 in 10 small businesses don't invest in any kind of marketing. The List Guys have over 35 plus list types to choose from, and you can mix and match any list or criteria. We also use the skip trace list and provide up to 7 numbers and email addresses. Every list you purchase will be scrubbed against previous purchases. The List Guys are here to save you time. Contact the List Guys today at www.onelistguys.com. That's www.1listguys.com.
Greg has shown in his example, just take action and everything will work itself out. So thank y'all for tuning in. Greg, thank you for sharing and giving your time and blessings and Thanksgiving to you and the fam, and we'll see y'all soon.
Thanks, Kendra. Thank you. Bye-bye.